how can someone have better falsetto? And I'm asking this question more for like a guy in particular, for guys in particular.
A lot of guys struggle with falsetto. And that reason is because typically, not all the time, but typically guys' vocal cords are just genetically more thick than women's. And so it is harder. It's easier to speak down here, right? But it's a lot harder to get up here. And a lot of guys, they kind of crack.
Yeah.
You know, there's been guys that have really come to me for coaching, and they start out like literally not even knowing how to access that range.
Wow.
Like where they literally don't even think that they have that range. And it's like, I don't have it. I'm like, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
I'm gonna prove it.
I just talk to them like Prince the whole time. No, yeah, so I'll just, not to make this too long, but I'll just give a quick tip. There's so many things to do on this, but a quick tip would be for guys to first find it with a closed vowel, and then once they found it with a closed vowel, open up to a more open vowel like an ah. So if you think about a closed vowel, ooh, ah, right? Ooh, closed, ah, open, right? That's all I mean.
Right.
So first start, ooh, ooh, ooh. So can you do that? Ooh. And then for a lot of guys, as soon as we switch to the ah, it goes, ooh, ooh.
Yeah.
It's like it cracks on the open vowel.
Right.
And what's happening is that a lot of guys have an underdeveloped muscle on the vocal cords called the cricothyroid, which is responsible for what we would consider getting up into your falsetto. And they have an overactive, what's called thyroarytenoid, which is responsible for this kind of voice, right? It is, okay? And so if you want those kind of lighter sounds, you're gonna have to develop a muscle that most guys have never developed, and that's why it's cracking. It's a lot easier to activate it on those closed vowels, but what a lot of guys have to do is they gotta start with that ooh, slowly open up. So, ooh, ah, ooh, ah. Start with a wah, 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 and literally just practice doing that, and really practice. A lot of guys can even put their fingers here.
Yeah.
Try to really pay attention that they feel an even buzz throughout all those vowels. So, ooh, ah, ooh, ah. What we don't want is ooh, ah, or ooh, ah. Like again, that crack.
Yeah.
So if they can really focus on thinking like, okay, the sound is in front here, and throughout these vowels, I'm going to keep the same placement. Then they can go through all their vowels. And then
that's great.
Yeah, I mean, this sounds so silly.
It's good stuff right there.
It's great. I'm just, you're like, that's great. Buy my record. It's oh, the song. Stream it. yeah. Make a TikTok dance to it, okay? But that's really going to be important for guys that are struggling with falsetto. Typically, they'll be able to do the ooh, but they might not be able to do those open vowels, and you just have to train it. There's so many other ways to train it, but you know, that's just what I'll give in this video for sure.
That's great. Well, if that's the case, I'm not going to ask a question.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say, is that something where like you need to be trained daily, or is it like?
Absolutely. I think if that's an area of weakness, then I mean, ideally, every day to every other day would be good. Now, if they're just doing it once a week, ooh, ah, ah, I mean, it might not be enough repetitions to actually make a meaningful connection in the mind to where they can just sing and not have to do that and not have to think about that. Because we're trying to create new neural pathways in the mind, right? But that's also why I think what's so important is actually having like a structure in place, having a plan in place, and not just going about it like, oh, how about I do this today and this tomorrow and this. You know, and I was there at one point, and the reason we also can only give advice from like the things that we've done, right? And I know you were there too, and it's like when we just got really structured and really put a plan in place, like that's when we got crazy results. 100%. So to answer that question, I mean, yeah, the more reps, the quicker you're going to improve. But at the same time, like that's one area of the voice. There's so many other areas.
Right.
And that's why I really recommend a structured approach. And I recommend like going through everything in a specific order, you know, because it's just how you're going to develop a more holistic voice and get really good quickly.